All right. Here we go. Hi, everybody. Dion Major here inside Sales by Design, as well as SalesClass.ai. And we are super excited to have Vidyard and Reva joining us today. Video is a thing. It's a thing. I know, and I was skeptical too. I still kind of am, but it's really not about me and it's not about us. It's about delivering a message to people that in a way that they want to receive that message. So I think that's something to keep in mind as we talk about today. And Reva's amazing, Vidyard's amazing, and you're all here wanting to get better. So you're amazing too. So without further ado, I'm going to turn it over to Reva. Thank you so much for joining us today. Thank you to Vidyard. And we are super excited to learn from you, and take it away.
Awesome. Yeah, I am so excited to be here, and please feel free to ask questions in the chat and I'll try to keep my eye on it. And if I can answer, I definitely will. A little bit about me. I have been on the Vidyard sales team for just over 6 years, using video for all 6 of those years in various roles, selling to small business all the way to enterprise, customer accounts, net new prospects, and leading our business development team as well. I do a lot of training sessions, and I love to kind of collaborate and brainstorm all the different ways that people can think about using video in their sales process. So if you want to chime in the chat about some ideas you have about where you're going to get started in trying to use video, I think that would be a great idea. So let me share my screen and we can jump right into the content. All right, so we are talking today about how to supercharge your outreach with video. I totally get it. If you haven't tried video and you're a little bit reluctant, what I will preface this with is this is not a silver bullet, drop all other channels and only do video. This is something that you're going to have to put some critical thinking into and reflect on your role and think about the best places that you can start using video today. All of these topics or like tactics that we talk about, they might not make sense for your role. So you've really got to think about where are you going to try video out in your sales process.
Agreed. It's not one and done. It's an accumulation. So yeah.
Completely. Yeah. So keep that in mind. Wanted to open though with if anyone has been in sales for longer than 6 months, let's say, I'm sure this is not news to you. It's getting super tough to connect with our prospects and customers. It's a trend that's been there for years, but HubSpot actually did a study pre-COVID and post-COVID looking at some data, and they found some pretty interesting things, like alarming things if you're in sales. But pre versus post-COVID, the volume of emails that sales reps are sending out has more than doubled. So there's so much noise there. There always was noise in the inbox, but there's so much now. And they also found that response rates have gone down more than 35%. So we're sending all these emails out and we're really having a tough time capturing the attention of the people we're trying to capture their attention and get responses. So that's what we're up against when we're in sales. And so we want to talk today about how can you be more efficient with your time? If it takes you 80 emails and 100 phone calls to try and get someone on the hook, maybe video could increase your efficiency. And sure, it might take a little bit more time to make that video, but we want to think about how can we be more efficient with our time. And the reason video works for sales is that it really helps you capture the attention right out of the gate. So you see here, video in these like traditionally text-based communications really makes the email look different, and it looks different for your buyers too, and it's a little bit more engaging. It interrupts what they traditionally see. It also lets you as a sales rep establish rapport, so you don't really get to get your personality across in text, and even if you are saying really great things in your text-based email, maybe they're deleting it too quickly. So that 60 to 90 seconds on camera can give you a time to like give your personality out there. Something we will get into is being able to show value in your videos. So it doesn't always have to be me speaking directly to the camera. It can also be me showing something on the screen. And when you show your buyer something visually, that cements what you're saying in their head a bit more, and you become more memorable. And then finally, it really helps you stay top of mind in your deal cycle. So if you're peppering your prospect with videos here and there throughout the deal cycle, you're just going to be more memorable again. And if you're in a competitive deal and your competitors are also pitching those buyers, you want to do everything in your hands to kind of stand out from the other people that your buyers might be speaking to. Just going to quickly make sure my chat's open, make sure I'm not missing anything. That's great. Okay. So format for videos in modern sales. Obviously, we are all accustomed to the Zoom, the Teams, whatever, and that's synchronous, that's live. And a lot more people are turning their videos on. So people are becoming more accustomed to video. But what we're going to talk about today is asynchronous video. And I think this is so powerful because your buyers are in meetings, just like we're in meetings all day. They're in meetings all day. And so maybe they want to consume your information at night after they've put their kids to bed or early in the morning. And so we want to be there for our buyers and talk to them in a way that makes sense on their schedule. And so it might be a video in an email. It might be something like this person who's speaking directly to the camera. She's got a whiteboard, she's got a prop. She's not drinking on the job. She actually was pitching to a beer company. So she had their beer in her fridge. Or it might be, you know, going on someone's LinkedIn and saying, hey, I noticed you're responsible for XYZ. I want to talk to you about how we're helping similar people in your industry do XYZ. So there's a lot of different ways you can start to use video in your sales process. If you're familiar with Forrester, they also came out with a study. A lot of studies were done during the pandemic. And last April, they saw that people really need to train their sellers to be memorable on video. And this kind of like video has been percolating and getting more interest, but the pandemic really threw it into like front and center on how can you use video effectively. And there are some people out there who do video poorly. And so we want to also talk about in these sessions, how do you not just do video, but do it well and actually get the results you're looking to get by using video in your sales process. So we are going to jump right into how you can use video in prospecting. If you want to chime in the chat and let me know, like, do you prospect in your role? Are you purely prospecting? Or are you an AE who does a bit of prospecting on the side? That would be awesome. But traditionally, when we think of prospecting, we think of email, phone, LinkedIn, maybe text messaging, I'm not sure, but those are our traditional channels. And we don't want to get rid of these channels. We just want to use video to bolster these channels. So think about how video can impact your email cadences or your social selling, even your phone, and I'll get into that. How can video help your phone calls? So you see here, these look pretty traditional, and even I think any SDR or AE who really wants to be good at their job is doing a lot of research up front. So you are probably putting that research and personalization and relevance into the email itself. But just human nature from receiving so many emails over the years, we just want to delete them. So even if you've done your work and you're trying to add value, it might not have its moment in the spotlight. So think about how can video make your emails more engaging, make your social outreach more engaging. And here are just some examples. If you were to receive this, if you put yourself in your buyer's shoes and you receive an email like this, where there's a smiling face, there is beer. Why is there beer there? You're kind of making them curious. That's going to get a lot more click-through than just your text-based email. SalesLoft, if you're familiar with SalesLoft, they did a study. They looked at 134 million emails that were sent out of their platform, and they found that emails that had video in them actually had a 26% higher response rate than just text-based. So if you can increase your response rate even less than that, but just get a little bit higher, that's getting you more conversations, and that's going to lead to booking more meetings and possibly creating more pipeline as a result.
Absolutely.
Awesome. So Now we're going to get into what makes a great prospecting video, because I mentioned before, people can do video really poorly and it can have a negative effect on your sales cycle. So number one, we want to help you connect on a personal level and earn the trust of your buyer. You've never met them before, most likely. Maybe they've never seen your name before, they've never seen your company before. So you have 60, we say 30 to 90 seconds to really make an impression and build some rapport. The first tip is to be personal, be real, be authentic, think about your body language, think about your background, smile, look inviting. If you are the type of person who is talent, like you're inclined, you can play the guitar or you can play the piano. I've seen people really creatively weave that into their prospecting. If that's not really your style, it's not my style. I'm not great at that. What you want to do, though, is not mimic other things you see out there, and instead find your voice and what feels comfortable for you, and then put that forward in your videos. You also want to plan your message. So we say strive. I forget what we say. Don't strive for perfection. If you do the video over and over again and you're taking like 10 or 12 takes and you're really trying to get every single sentence right, you're probably not going to have a fun time making videos, and you're probably not going to see a lot of results either. So what I would recommend is you want to hit that balance of sounding off the cuff, but also having a plan. You don't want to go off into some tangent and then find that you've been recording for 2 minutes. So think about what you want to say, have a beginning, middle, and end, and stick to that. I've said it, keep it short, 30 to 90 seconds. In the prospecting space, you've never met these people before, so you want to be snappy. And SalesLoft SDRs actually use Vidyard specifically, and they are achieving one in particular, Ellie Twigger. If you don't follow her on LinkedIn, I'd highly recommend. She has a lot of great tips for SDRs and AEs. She achieved 120% of her sales target by incorporating video in addition to other channels. And she has a really great blog post on that if you want to learn more. Number two, it doesn't always have to be you speaking to the camera. If you are camera shy, this might be a really great way to get your feet wet with video, but showing things on your screen can be very memorable. So if you have a visual product, or if you can go to someone's website and capture some research that's relevant to what you're pitching, try to do that. Maybe it's their careers page. Maybe it's technology that you see they're using and you can help them do better. If you have a physical product, a screenshot is someone who actually sells packaging. And so he showed their packaging compared to traditional packaging. Think about how you can creatively start to incorporate that into your videos.
Absolutely. Hey, Reva, question for you.
Yeah.
You have the lady that you had mentioned that had the blog post.
Yes. Let me put that in the chat.
Perfect.
There we go, Ellie Twigger.
Yeah, and I think it's really interesting too, Reva, because as much sometimes as organizations will press to have everybody sound the same and scripting and all that good stuff, there's so much value in what you're talking about and being authentic, right? So if you're a super high energy person, then own that, talk fast, but not too fast, right? Like do you, right? And then I've worked with folks and coaches or worked with teams, and this couple of individuals, they're monotone and talk in a very steady pace, no inflection. And that individual was just as successful as somebody who had inflection and was super high energy, right? Because when we just kind of own our voice, there's authenticity with it that people respond to, right? We all know when somebody likes us and doesn't like us, right? So I think if we take that biological concept and cascade it out, there's so much value in what you're talking about here and just owning it.
I love that. Yeah. You feel better too when you feel like you're being true to yourself. Yeah. I'm can't see her name. Oh, yeah. You know what? Oh, you know what? I'm sending it to the wrong person. How many of these have I done?
I know, but you know what? It's hard sometimes to get it all correct, for sure.
There we go. Okay. I think you all can see it now. Let me know if you can't.
Yep.
All right. So what makes a great prospecting video? We're going to step into the end of that video, you want to close with a strong call to action. If you have heard of the company Gong, they put out a lot of great thought leadership on outbound prospecting. They did a huge study on what CTAs are best, what actually book the most meetings, and it's actually counterintuitive. It's not asking for 30 minutes all the time. So I think that the one they found was most effective was, would you be open to learning more about X? So a little bit softer, but rely on your own research and data. If you use a tool that tells you what CTAs are best for you, stick to that. If you don't, try to do some A/B split testing. And here are some examples of some CTAs that might serve you. So ask for a call to discuss further, ask for feedback on the video, ask for a referral, or maybe ask them if you can send them another video. If you see they've watched your video, you know they like video, or they're open to it. So maybe just ask for an invitation to keep the conversation going. Mm-hmm. Now, at the top of the video, we want to get creative and ensure that they press play. And there are some like auxiliary things around the video itself that can help increase your chances. Number one is the email subject line. So you want to create curiosity. You want to reference the video in the subject line. You want to let them know there's something different about this email. I would again recommend relying on subject lines that serve you well, that perform well. And if you don't have that data or you want to test new things, there are some examples like Dion, 54 seconds that will change your life, or Dion, I made this video just for you, something like that, to really pique their curiosity. In the email itself, you don't want to send just a standalone video. That might be off-putting. They might not know if it's spam. So you want to introduce it well, but you don't want to give everything away. So referencing why you're reaching out, letting them know you made the video just for them. And then that also can alleviate some objections that they might subconsciously have. Maybe they get a link and the first thing they wonder is this spam, or was this mass produced? So proactively address some concerns you think your buyer might have, and that will increase the number of people who actually click on the video. Thumbnail image is another thing. So think about what that's going to be. You want to be smiling if you're on camera. You want to have some movement if you're sharing something on your screen, whether that's scrolling on your screen or going back and forth between tabs. If you can use a prop, something intriguing that's relevant, that could work too. Pets are always nice. So think about what your thumbnail image will be as well.
Yes, I did some work, and know a colleague there in the event planning space. And so just imagine, so they were doing team building events and stuff like that, all that fun stuff. And then COVID hit, but then they started doing virtual events, which was super interesting. And so, and they are goofy. They're not business formal at all. And they shamelessly talk about how they send pictures of cats and kittens to everybody. And they do, it's hysterical. So but that's their thing. Like if I did it, it'd be weird. And people would be like, why is she sending me cat pictures and kitten pictures, right? So, but to your point, it's, if you have your brand and your theme and all that good stuff, just again, be true to that for sure. Yeah.
Totally. Yeah, for sure. And you want to make sure it's relevant or on your brand. That's for sure.
Absolutely. Right. You can't stray from that. If you're a super straight-laced business formal, don't send pictures of kittens.
You have to read the room. Very cool. Okay, so now we're going to get into how to record, share, and track videos at scale. If you have never tried a video tool before, go to Google, search Vidyard. You can download or install the free Chrome extension today. We also have a desktop app, and it's as simple as just opening up the extension. You'll see some options on how you can record, select webcam or select screen share, and just press record. And you can start recording your first video. Yes, you can restart it. That's the beauty of asynchronous video. You can mess up and try again. And that's really great for getting practice in. I'm sure when we all started our cold calls, it was painful, rusty, really uncomfortable. It takes some time to get that muscle memory going, and video is just the same. Now, if you are using Vidyard, another thing I would recommend is making sure that it's integrated with your email. So if you use Gmail or Outlook, make sure that there's a little plug in there. If anyone has any questions after this and you're trying it out, please feel free to reach out. But that's going to help you track when someone actually views your video. So and that's the best part, right? We want to know when people are viewing our video. And then you're going to get real-time email notifications when someone actually watches.
Yeah. Hey, Reva, question for you. There's a question in the Q&A, and this is a good one because it's coming up more and more. Any tips for cybersecurity that, or best practices? I may not be asking that question appropriately, Kevin, so feel free to chime in, but any tips specific or reaching out to cybersecurity professionals?
Yes, something I've definitely heard of before. You may want to think about for organizations that you find have really strict rules when it comes to what can pass through email. You may want to think about sending a few emails first without any links or pictures or videos, trying to get through and kind of green lighted. Now, I'm not a deliverability expert. That's a very technical space, but so I'm probably missing a lot of details. But once you do that, and then you try to send video, maybe further along in your cadence, that's going to increase your chances. Something else I would recommend is if you're an AE and you have an opportunity to actually build a relationship with someone over a longer period of time, think about using video after the prospecting piece. So you've established a relationship, you have sent email back and forth, now try to use video.
Yep.
Great question. I'm seeing, do you recommend to customize a video for each prospect, or can we use a standard one? That's a very good question as well. I would say that you have to think about the cost benefit of creating a single video each and every time, and whether it's worth your while. For myself, as an account executive, I have a book of business that's pretty small. And so I want to create a one-to-one video every time I reach out. But if I was working a high volume of accounts where that would be impossible, I might segment that book of business that I have. And for my top tier accounts, really do one-to-one videos, or for those top personas, do one-to-one videos, and then have more account-based or persona-based videos in your library that you can use over and over again. It's a very good question.
Yeah, I agree with you on that one for sure. Other question that came out that says, how video outreach can help in SaaS product? What are your recommendations for this strategy?
Does that, I'd love to get more information on that. Is that like in the SaaS industry, if you're selling a SaaS product?
I think so. Yeah.
Okay.
How can outreach help in SaaS? Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I would say that it's a great place to use video in that industry. Vidyard is a SaaS product ourselves, and I think that when you are a SaaS product, you have a visual element that you can show on your screen. So maybe showing really quick clips of certain things that you can do, but never leading with the feature, and instead leading with the problem you can solve, and using that more as the visual element. That can be really great. So that would be one recommendation, is just lean into the ways that your product can really shine on video. Yeah. Someone's talking about deep fake or AI features to record one video and make little changes. My personal opinion is I really hate this idea, because I've seen this come up, and I totally get why you want to do it. I've seen some products coming out that do this deep fake kind of thing, and it's a little bit off-putting personally for me, because it's the same thing as I come from the marketing automation space and selling marketing automation. And at the beginning, email worked really well for marketers. And then some things really messed it up, and the trust issues came up of, this is spam, this is sent to so many people, this isn't relevant. And now we have a really tough time cracking through with email. That might happen with video if these type of things happen more and more, where someone can obviously see that this was made once, but personalized in a strange way for a broader audience. So I would say you want to keep in mind that you want to be efficient, and I get that. Don't let videos slow you down, but choose when and where you're going to go hyper personalized and where you might use the same video over and over again without any AI features associated with it. I would also say to be open-minded to the fact that creating a video is likely going to take you longer than just pressing send on a templated email, but the outcome might be better for you. So you might feel like, wow, that took a long time, but maybe the outcome, you've got a higher chance of success there.
Yeah, I agree with you on that, Reva. And I'll be curious to kind of hear what you think and what everybody else on the call is thinking and seeing and hearing in the marketplace. The need for that human to human connection is by far and away the biggest lever we can pull to be real, to be genuine, to use something we found in doing some pre-call planning. Right. And so I think being able to drive that, to your point, if you're in a high volume SDR role where you've got a couple hundred accounts, first off, there's an issue with that. We should talk about that separately. Secondly, is you're going to want to be able to record a variety of different messages that speak to different personas, like you're saying. But there's also the component that says, hey, we've got some high value companies we want to go after. And these are the 10 we're going to target for this quarter. So you can start bifurcating your list, right? Or your targets, if you will. And so, because Philippe was asking a question about how to proceed, do you just record all videos at once? I don't think that's feasible because we won't know what to record all at once. So it's more a discipline of how do you develop a rhythm of different videos to record, and then what do you say in them, like Reva's talking about, right? Keeping the formula there, but that allows you to be able to kind of ad lib a little bit. Does that make sense?
I love that. The formula piece is so key, because if you do have a formula to your video, you're going to be able to personalize, but it's also going to feel pretty routine in your mind. So yeah, it is kind of like Mad Libs, like take this and 20% of it, personalize it.
Yeah.
So I love that approach. And I do think, talking about, can you record all your videos at once? Something that I would recommend is time blocking your calendar and not shifting between tasks. So think about maybe blocking off an hour, just like you would for cold calls or emails, and block a time to make some videos, and choose 10 videos you're going to make them, don't look at your email, don't make phone calls, and then send them out. So I think that is another really great idea from the chat.
Yeah, I think that's a great idea as well. And then any tactics off the top of your head for reaching to healthcare C-suite for revenue cycle?
Okay. Actually, we have quite a few customers that actually use video selling to that industry, or use Vidyard, sorry. So I think about those people are probably not, people working in the healthcare space are probably not at their desk. Even if they are in the C-suite, if you're working in a hospital, you're probably doing a lot in the hospital itself. Same with dental industry, like they're busy all day. And so async video can actually be really helpful for those people who might not be at their computer in meetings all day, and instead are doing other things. So think about kind of putting yourself in your buyer's shoes again. And if you think that they could kind of consume that video on their own time, that could be a really great thing. Another tip I will give on the C-suite is it's just like writing emails. C-suite people, like at night, they go home and watch Netflix too. They watch YouTube. They're not any different. And so you just have to change your messaging. You don't want to talk about super detailed things. You want to keep your messaging more strategic and referencing maybe some key annual goals they have, and things of that nature. Maybe thinking about how you adjust how you speak on video. Maybe you're having a professional background. These are the things you can do to make your video appeal more to the C-suite, but I wouldn't put them on a pedestal saying, well, I don't want to send a video to a CEO, for instance.
Yeah, they might actually enjoy it for sure. We've got a few other questions. However, I want to make sure we get through the content as well. So we'll come back to these in the Q&A, but so why don't we go ahead and proceed?
That sounds great. Okay, so here are some more tips just on if you're using Vidyard, some tips to make sure that your video looks as good as it can. One thing is, when you make your first Vidyard video, you're going to notice that the default title is Vidyard recording. Definitely change that. So we want to give some context about what the video could be. I always kind of go to video message for Rebecca or something like that. Maybe it's like, looking forward to meeting you. Just give some context. Also think about the trim feature. Sometimes there are some awkward moments at the beginning or the end. Maybe you find you're like waiting for a little bit too long. You didn't realize it's already recording. You can just trim that. Just keep rolling and you can just trim the awkward part. The same with the end. If you find that you're a little bit awkward looking for the stop button to stop your video, just trim those last few seconds. So think about that. And then the thumbnail image selection, once you're done recording your video in Vidyard, you're going to see there's a few options. I really love choosing the animated thumbnail. It lets a GIF show up instead of a static frame. And so choose whichever thumbnail you like. And if you don't like the thumbnails, you can always choose your own or upload a thumbnail instead if you wanted to use a different visual that's not in your video. And then I also wanted to just make mention for anyone on the call who might be using our enterprise version, we do have enterprise features like adding closed captions to your videos, so making it more accessible. Sometimes people can't listen to the volume, and so they want to read what you're saying. Using interactive elements like CTAs, if you have like a calendar tool, having something pop up at the end of your video that says book time with me can be a super frictionless way to book some meetings. So there are those parts of the platform as well that you might want to make use of. Now the fun part, sending your video with email and getting notifications. So if you are using a platform like Gmail or Outlook, you're going to see a little plugin, and actually that's been updated. It's now our little VBot mascot. So it's even more easy to see that it's the plugin. When you click on that in your compose window, you're going to open up your whole personal library. And so you're going to see all the videos you've made. And so simply selecting the video or videos that you want to send in your email, and then what you're going to see is a clickable thumbnail. It just automatically goes in. So we've really removed the in-between steps of getting a video into an email. So it's right there. When you send it, your recipient is going to see that video right in the email. Sending it this way helps with email notifications. So if you send a video out and someone watches it, in real time, you're going to get notifications both in your Chrome extension, which is right up here, as well as an email. And so if you're prospecting and you notice someone's watched 100% of your video, what are you going to do? Think about what you're going to do. Are you going to give them a call? Are you going to send them an email? That's some signal, though, that lets you know that they are consuming your content and leaning in. Okay, so now we're getting into the video challenge. So we have a challenge. Obviously, everyone's joined today to sort of try something new. So it's all about recording your own video prospecting message. So we've given you some tips on how that message can sound, what you can say in that video. So now give it a try. So if you haven't already, download Vidyard's free tool. It's a couple clicks. And then we're asking you to submit your videos to Dion and myself by this Friday to enter into the challenge. We're going to review these submissions and choose a winner by July 20th, which is our final session. So really excited to see what everyone sends us.
Yeah, it's going to be a lot of fun, everybody. And that final session will be a lot of Q&A. So send us questions ahead of time. You know, there's been so much chatter or chats going through and Q&A and stuff. So, you know, this is new and there's a lot of questions, but this is the place to ask. This is the place to test and measure. And this is the place where we can get some answers and then go about our business and make a better experience for our customers, which is exactly what we want to be doing, right? So that's the name of the game, is how do we make the process and the experience better for our customers at the end of the day, for sure. Reva, we have a question that says, difference in subject line for sending a video via text versus email.
Well, in a text, I'd love to get more information on that question, because in a text, I don't think you'd have a subject line. So in a text, I would treat that like the body of the email, where you're introducing that video, giving a couple sentences about what you talk about in the video, and proactively addressing some objections they might have. But what do you think, Dion? Am I missing?
Yeah, no, it's a good question, because you can actually go into your settings on your text messages and add a subject line.
Oh,
I did not know this. You can also go in there and have read receipts. So for some people you text, you'll see the little delivered, and then you'll see the little read verbiage at the bottom of the message. But you can go into your settings and adjust whether or not you want a subject line, as well as the read receipts and stuff. So I think that's a great question. And I don't know if everybody knows about those features within texting. So from a stat perspective, texting definitely works, right? So because we're all on our phones. I mean, it's not a phone anymore, it's a mini computer. So it might, I mean, it is what it is, right? So it's like, hey mom, can I borrow your phone to watch a movie? For the love of Christmas? No, you know what I mean? So it's a phone. But anyway, not to sound like 806. So I think, again, from an email versus text and stuff, I don't know if I would go straight to video, because, people might be put off by that if you send a video straight to their phone and that's kind of the first attempt. So I would use it judiciously, and I would test and measure when we find a good time is to send a video to their phone via text. That's my thought.
Yeah, I would also say, think about what shows up on the phone. So text message, it's smaller, so you want to put stuff in that they're gonna see. So think about that as well.
Yeah.
And it might also be something I've never done this through text, but if you've established a very good relationship with someone throughout a sales cycle, and you're kind of buddies at that point, they're your champion, maybe they would be open to a quick, it's kind of like a voice memo, only through video. I know I send voice memos and videos to my friends all the time for like a quick message that I don't want to type out. So test it out. But yeah, I would agree with Dion I don't think that'd be my first touch.
Test and measure, test and measure, test and measure, be appropriate, be mindful of what somebody's seeing on the other end, right? And definitely go from there. And then we have also a question as far as where are the videos stored?
Yeah, good question. So it is stored on our end. We store them, they're in the cloud essentially. And so when you're sending a video through email, it's not sending the entire video file. That would be a huge issue. It's just sending a clickable link. And so they click on the link or the thumbnail, and they're brought to a page where they can then view that video.
Yeah. Very nice. Quick side note, there was a question as far as how many videos kind of does it take to get a response from somebody. And then Ryan responded that he usually sends 2 to 3 videos in an email campaign cadence, and usually gets a response after the second one.
Oh, very nice, Ryan. That's awesome. Yeah, I think that's a great idea, sending 2 to 3 videos throughout the email cadence, and also thinking about where you can repurpose videos. So I've heard of at the end of the cadence where you're having that kind of parting ways email, maybe have a video that you could put in that step that you use over and over again. It could be something like, hey, I've sent you a few emails about various items. Oh, I'm getting some background. Do you hear that, Dion? I don't want to hurt anyone's ears.
No, keep going.
Okay. So it might be something that you can repurpose, like a video saying, I've sent you some information. I totally understand you might be managing different priorities. Here, keep my contact information on file, and hopefully in the future, if this comes up, we could speak. That's a much more personal way of getting that message across than a text-based one. So think about where in your cadence you can leverage a video over and over again. Another one could be in the prospecting piece, at least in those nurture steps, because we know a good outbound cadence or sequence should have many different channels, many different touch points over a prolonged period of time. And so in the middle, as you're sending nurturing or educational content, maybe you can go to something I like to do is go to a customer story, or a customer story I really like. Open up my Vidyard recording and start recording myself talking about the customer story and giving context to the story. You can repurpose that again and again. It doesn't need to be specific. You don't need to say anyone's name or company, but that can be something you think about as well in your cadence.
Yeah, I think that's a good one for sure. There was a question too about sending videos via marketing automation tools, right? So can you, if you have kind of a generic video message, can you use something, like Pardot or Salesforce or SalesLoft? Do you recommend that?
You definitely can. I'm curious to know if you have access to that platform, because I know myself, like I know Vidyard uses Marketo, but I don't have access to it. But if there is an opportunity for you to leverage that, there could be a nice way for you to do a one-to-many email through that platform. I think for the most part, like sales reps I speak to use more of a sales automation platform, like a SalesLoft or Outreach or Zant. So if you do have access to it, I think there could be good applications. It just depends. I think I need more information on that.
Yeah, I would agree. I'm not sure how to do that. So there's a couple questions that we're getting as far as if we do send one to many, are there still email notifications and things of that nature?
Yeah, that's a good question. So if you send one to many through SalesLoft or Outreach, like you're using the same video over and over again, you are going to get one-to-one view notifications for each and every person who watches that video. If, however, you're using a Gmail or Outlook and putting many people in the to line, you're not going to get individual viewer analytics. The great thing is on Vidyard, we've come out with a new feature recently where you can actually connect your email client to the Vidyard platform and send through the Vidyard platform. And so if you do have a long list of people you want to send to, you can use that interface instead, and you will get individual analytics that way.
Oh, that's really interesting, which is
Yeah,
nice. There's a lot of, there's the organizations that don't have sales acceleration platforms. They don't believe in them, or they just don't have them, or they're just not there yet. You know what I mean?
totally.
So, because email still works and Excel still works for BI, you know what I mean? So it's, 8 billion people on the planet. There's going to be some differentiation for sure. So
Totally. Yeah. So make use of that if you don't have something that allows you to automate your sales process, for
okay.
sure.
And then did we answer this question as far as, do you believe that sales like or promo type videos are better for prospecting, or how to use product videos would be more effective?
How to use product videos during prospecting, is that the question?
I think so, yes.
Yeah. I for prospecting, I think that you want to like have a balance of not getting too in the weeds or showing too much or going feature first in prospecting. However, if you can use it in a way where it lends like a nice visual to you while you talk more about how it can help resolve a business challenge or help the company do something in particular, that can be really helpful. We at Vidyard, for instance, on the SDR and BDR team have two product videos that our marketing team has made, one for our marketing use case, one for our sales use case. And that team uses those videos quite a bit when they tee up calls for the account executives, just to give the person a 3-minute overview of what we're about to talk about. And that sort of like puts the call that's scheduled on a really good foot where we've covered some ground already. We don't need to go into the questions that prospects may have if they know nothing about Vidyard. We've given them something to have some context for this discovery call. And so that might be an interesting way to use a product video on the prospecting side, is more on when you're teeing up a call for an AE.
Yeah, I think so. I think it's a mix, right? Because if we call and we say, hey, let's talk, people want to know why, and they want to know what you're selling. So I think that's going to be important. And I mean, a picture is worth 1,000 words. That cliche is in place for a reason, right? And so we can talk about the why, and then we can show people, and then end with that call to action that says, would another video be helpful? Or does this sound interesting? Should we talk about it more next week? Right.
Yes.
So,
And I've seen actually on another masterclass or session I was running recently, we had people submit some videos, and one BDR actually submitted a video where he wanted to show someone how he noticed they were using a particular website building product and he could help them do it better, I think, or they were like a digital asset management tool or something of that nature. And he wanted to show them how much easier and how much time they would save by using his product. And it wasn't like focused on his product, but the visual of him actually going in and showing how he would do something and the number of hours he could save them was really compelling. And that sticks in my head. And I ran that session like a month ago. And so that's just the testament of showing something visually really concretes the idea and the concept. And if your brand is there, your face is there, all of those moments of exposing someone to your brand and your face makes you more memorable. So that when they get that next email from you or that phone call from you or the LinkedIn invite, they start to remember who you are.
yeah. Yeah. And I think that symbiotic relationship, Reva, between getting to know somebody, but then adding value, right? And being memorable. And a colleague of mine calls it being enviable. And this is where, as a sales professional, we have to do I know we're talking about high volume SDR, but we also need to do our pre-call planning in some way, shape, fashion, or form, and use the right verbiage. And so making sure we're not just shooting a shot across the bow, right, without it being relevant. So we really need to wrap that around for people as well. So yes,
Yeah.
friendly reminder.
Yeah, I think also as we bring it back to the high volume prospecting outbound, maybe even some inbound people on the call, if I could give some ideas on how you can efficiently use video in your sales process. Something else we do quite a bit on the Vidyard side is our SDR team, who is managing high volume of inbound leads, people saying, I want to learn more about Vidyard. We definitely don't want them sitting and recording a one-to-one video, because the whole point of an inbound person is to connect the resources very quickly. And so think about maybe it's like a video that you can use over and over again. That's, hey, thanks so much for requesting some information on pricing for company XYZ. I'm so excited to get started and talk with you. I want to set up a call to learn more about blah, blah, blah. Please book some time in my calendar. That you can like use over and over again, but that's the first experience they're having with your brand, and they're getting like a personalized video from you, but it's not taking a long time for you. So in the prospecting space, think about like some ways that you can do that, where you can really wow the person on the other end, but it didn't take a lot of time for you.
Yeah, absolutely. And then Reva, regarding the calendaring link, because there was a question about that, is that something that is still in the email, or how is that embedded within that message?
Yeah, so if you are using the enterprise or like a paid version of Vidyard, it is a component directly in your video. So you can actually have an interactive element on your video. For me, I use SalesLoft. So at the end of my videos, there is like a book a meeting with me link. And when they click on that, they're brought to my SalesLoft calendar. If you're not using the free tool, I would recommend maybe putting the calendar link in your email copy. Of course, there's always that debate around like, should your prospect really book time in your calendar, or should you do the work? So I really like when it's in the video itself, because that's just trying to be as frictionless as possible. Like, hey, you watched my whole video. If you're interested, I'm trying to make it really easy for you to book some time.
Yeah, and I agree with you. I think it's so funny, right? Because some people have a very strong opinion and reaction to a salesperson sending them a link to their calendar. And which I get, right? So I would highly recommend coming up with, like Reva's saying, make sure you come up with verbiage that makes it okay for people to say no. because that's okay too, right? And so it's, hey, here's a link to my calendar if you're interested. Otherwise, two things are going to happen. I'm going to follow up with you again, or send me a link to your calendar or times that work best for you.
Yes, I love that.
I mean, just be super clear, right? And so, and make it okay for people to be like, I really hate the fact that you just sent me a link to your calendar. I think that's really crappy. And I don't ever use the H word. Like we have a policy in our house. We don't use it. And with my teams, we never used it. So some people have a very strong reaction to, you're a salesperson, don't ever send me a link to your calendar. So be mindful of that for sure.
For sure.
Yes. Is it possible to add virtual backgrounds into Vidyard?
Yes, there are some free tools out there. There is Snap Camera, which is like a Snapchat product, I think. And if you download that free extension, and then when you're recording a video, if instead of choosing your webcam option, you just drop down and choose the Snap Camera option, there are filters and all sorts of things. I know BDRs have made it so that it looks like they're sitting in the waiting room of the company they're pitching, which is so fun, or have their logo in the background or something like that. So you can definitely play around with that.
That is amazing. We have a few more questions. However, in order to be mindful of everybody's time today, we want to say thank you so much. Please participate in the video challenge. It's going to be amazing. We will pick a winner. We've got some prizes that we're still formulating, but they're going to be a lot of fun. So, and you get the bragging rights at the end of the day. So that's always a good thing. There's been a lot of questions about if the recording will be available. Yes, the recording will be available. So be on the lookout for that. And then again, connect with Reva, connect with myself, follow Vidyard, do some of your own homework on video in the sales process and the human connection. But connect with us, connect with each other. If you have any questions, please feel free to reach out. We are doing our second session on Thursday, 2 days from now. And in that session, we're talking about using video during the sales cycle. So our time together here was all about how the heck do we start a relationship? So AKA prospecting. How do we start a relationship in incorporating video into our methodology, our outreach methodology? And then on Thursday, we're going to talk about how do we keep the relationship going as well. So please feel free to, as a follow-up to this session, connect with Reva, connect with myself, send us your prospecting videos for the challenge. We'll review those on our session next Tuesday. And make sure you register for our time on Thursday. Reva, any parting words?
No, I'm super excited to see what you guys have. And don't worry if you feel like the submission was not your best work. This is something new for most people on this call. So just be gentle with yourself. We'll give you some nice feedback, and I'm sure you'll all do great.
Absolutely. Thanks everybody for joining. We hope you have an amazing, masterful day, and we will hopefully see you all on Thursday and look forward to seeing your videos. Thank you so much.